Welcome to Lights On, a Cafe Talk broadcast. I am your host, Lucinda Starr, a self-care practitioner and life coach, ready to shine light on how kindness is the new way to awaken. As you invest in your self-care and love, kindness flows out into the world. Today we'll be talking all about essential oils with guest Carly Sink. We'll be going over how to use essential oils to de-stress, manage social distancing, relax, and so much more. Thanks for joining us.
I'm so grateful to have Carly here with us. She's a local Winston-Salem retailer and also has her online business that's coming up soon, so be on the lookout for that as well.
As I was working there, I went to aromatherapy school while I was working there, and then after that, I taught yoga for a little while, still had my aromatherapy certification, and then I began working for a physician here in Winston-Salem called, her name is Dr. Laurie Young.
Yes.
And she owns Thrive Integrated Health.
Yep.
And so.
And that's where we met, because I think it was when you had your Vibe retail store. Yep.
Yeah. And so after I worked for Dr. Young for a while, and you know, she's a very holistic based physician. And so we would talk essential oils and how we could integrate them in with some of her patients. And as I kind of evolved from working as a patient navigator, I ended up opening up Vibes Up. Right beside Vibes Up is a company from California, but I am a huge proponent for their products. And so I became one of the first kind of spin-offs or branches of the Vibes Up tree here in Winston-Salem. And here recently, I've transitioned the Vibes Up shop into Hi-FrequencyHealing. So it's all kind of connected, little pieces together as I've evolved along the way. So now I'm doing
essential oils are consistent, because even in the Vibe Up products, they use essential oils and stones.
Absolutely.
Use a resin and put them all together to help with muscle tension is what I came to you for my neck injury from the car accident, and my mom, her back. And so,
So it all kind of pieces, but essential oils are like the underlying theme for like all of us. So now my business is Hi-FrequencyHealing, and I focus on all things vibrational healing, from crystals, gemstones, light, sound. I offer body work and custom essential oil blends based on people's different emotional and physical needs. And I've also partnered with Dr. Young to create, she's the owner, but it's a company called DNA Energetics, where we're using clinical research studies to create essential oils that are based on certain genetic SNP patterns, based on genetic data. So obviously I love oils. I'm here today to talk a little bit about what are they, how can they be used, what are some easy recipes or tips and tricks that people can take with them and apply in their safely. I'm a huge proponent for safety in their day-to-day lives.
Awesome. So can we just start with the basics on, what exactly are essential oils?
Sure. So essential oils, a lot of people think about, they don't really know what essential oils are. Like, what are the essential oils? They're called the secondary metabolites of plants. And so primary metabolites are something like proteins, carbohydrates, or fats. They're like the main components of the plant material. But secondary metabolites are the biochemical, or the properties, or the molecules that offer like antiviral properties, antibacterial. They're like the protective mechanisms of the plants. And so when you extract these secondary metabolites, they can be used, whether it's in cleaning solutions, for antiviral or antibacterial sprays that you hear a lot of different companies have. They can be used for, and a lot of them provide antioxidant properties, so they help with free radical damage from excess oxidative stress in the body. So something like peppermint or ginger, fennel, all of those offer are very powerful antioxidants. And so there's lots of different ways you can use the oil. So I'm going to get into that. But so these are the secondary part of plants, not the main component. And they're extracted in a couple different ways. They typically come from either the roots of a plant, the leaves, the flowers, the resins, or the woods. And so there's a whole unique energetic study, or it's called, I think it's, if I remember correctly, it's called morphology, but it's actually looking at where the oil comes from on the plant. And that'll kind of give you an idea of what area of the body it could be used for. So a good example.
So go into a little bit more detail, because I think most of the people are going to be very elementary coming in that have probably only used them for aromatherapy and spa treatments and that kind of thing. So when you say the different components of the plant will help you understand what part of the body, so let's go through them. Let's start with the root.
Sure. Yeah. So a good example would be eucalyptus leaves. Okay. If you think about where the leaves occur on the tree, that can be a representation energetically of our lungs. So they're going to have very expansive properties. Okay. So not only is it good on the physical level for the lungs, but on the bioenergetic or more metaphysical level is good for expansion and breathing and breath. And if you think about the branches on a tree and the leaves, that can relate to something like eucalyptus. There are tons of different plants that are great that have antiviral and antibacterial properties, like peppermint, thyme, rosemary. I mean, there's a list that I'll go over here in a little while that are great for your immune system, and that all offer kind of antibacterial and antiviral properties. But when you're applying something topically, it does go into the bloodstream. So it does have a physiological effect within your system. So I definitely don't necessarily recommend them internally unless you know what you're doing and you know how to properly dilute. And with any oil, I mean, lavender and tea tree are very popular because they are some of the only oils that people recommend for using neat, or where you don't necessarily have to dilute. So, and tea tree just offers a lot of different antibacterial properties in general. So it's kind of, those are kind of the catch-alls. Like if you can have two oils, I would have like those two and maybe some peppermint. So those are the most common ones that are used. Lavender offers incredible benefits for skin issues, burns. So that's something that people very commonly use topically.
Yeah. And I use that to clean. I put that with my vinegar and water, and that's like my go-to for cleaning around the house.
Yeah. I mean, lavender definitely is really good. Lemon, a lot of the citrus oils are very commonly used for cleaning. So yeah, they all offer a myriad, and there's overlapping. So it's not like lavender's only good for this. Like lavender is great for stress. It actually is one of the oils that is balances all the chakras. So if you're looking to do chakra balancing and that's all you got, I mean, hey, you can do a whole entire chakra balancing with that. So
well, when we spoke earlier today, did I hear you mention that lavender and the Provence, that was sort of one of the first essential oils that began the whole essential oil history?
Yeah. So I think what happened is it was used as a fragrance, but I can't remember the guy's name. He burned himself. It was like in the 17th or 18th century. And he ended up using the fragrance. At the time, I mean, they weren't using all these crazy ways to extract different, fragrance parts of the plant. They were using more of the whole plant material, or whole plant oil. And he was amazed at how fast his burn healed. And so then that led to some of the more therapeutic properties versus just using it for a nice fragrance. And now, I mean, there are hundreds of different types of oils. And I wanted to cover, so a couple different ways that they're made. And so they're made via steam distillation. They can be, and if some oils, if they're heated, you don't want to put them, you wouldn't use steam distillation because if they're heated up, they can oxidize. And so some of them are cold pressed. So a lot of the citrus oils are going to be cold pressed. And then there's also fat soluble extraction. So some floral oils, especially some of the flower oils that are very, very expensive to make. You need a lot of plant material. They may use a different extraction method for that, so they can get kind of more bang for the buck per se. But they're still going to carry the energetic properties. So even a lot of the absolutes that are not 100%, rose oil is still going to have a lot of the energetics, as long as it's not processed, of the original plant material. And so just for example, I'm a 5 ml bottle, and I'm going to hold up this. This is 5 ml. A lot of the these are usually like the diffusing size.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my brand. I have a little, I sell a couple of my oils at the shop, Hi-Frequency Healing. So this is a 5 ml and this is a 15 ml. And the 5 ml has about 100 drops in it. And the 15 ml has about 250 or so.
Oh, wow.
And this 5 ml here, this small size, it takes a pound of lavender to make that little small size right here. For Melissa, to extract a concentrate of Melissa oil, it takes 63 pounds of Melissa to make one of these little babies.
Wow.
And then it takes 18 lemons to make one of these small 5 ml. So
it's really concentrated then.
Oh, it's so you would only I only use 3 drops to put in a diffuser, and this is 100 drops. So you get 30 uses out of one little bottle. But a lot of people wonder why they're so expensive. And it's like, if you have a high quality oil, it better be expensive. I mean, that's because you want something that's going to have not only the physical properties, but the energetics behind it and the manufacturing and everything where along the process has been blessed per se.
Right. Why is rose oil so expensive? Does it take a lot of roses to condense it down to the oil? Is that what it is? The quantity?
So I have written here, let me look at I actually had pulled up my PowerPoint. I gave a talk on this one time. And I can go back here real quick and see what it takes 242,000 rose petals, not roses, but petals, 242,000 rose petals to make this size.
Okay.
So that gives you an idea of how concentrated it is.
Yeah.
But rose is the highest vibration that we know so far.
Yeah, the 320 hertz. Yeah, consider that like the vibration of love in the plant world. Yeah,
absolutely. And so we think about plants and why we give flowers during times of love or during times of sadness, because it raises the vibration of the space around you.
Yeah.
Let's see. I was going to talk before I get into the nitty gritty of different recommendations of particular uses of the oils, a couple different ways to apply them. And there's some great dilution ratio charts online. I think that's the most important thing, is that people don't realize how concentrated they are.
Right.
And so you typically, if you're applying topically, you really only, if you think about putting a quarter of coconut oil or olive oil on the palm of your hand, and maybe 1 or 2 drops for fragrance, or if you're working to look on more of an emotional issue or mental health, mood elevation. Now, if you're working on pain, you may put maybe 3 to 5 drops of a blend, but not, if you're using 4 different oils on your body topically, you only want to use 1 or 2 drops of each. So they're very, very concentrated.
Right.
So you can always add more. It's hard to take it back.
Yeah.
Once you have it on. So you always want to patch test when you're using essential oils. So we have topically. You can also, you put them in a diffuser. I think that is one of the best ways, because when you're breathing them in, not only are you taking them into your olfactory system, but you're also taking them into your lungs, and that actually distributes throughout the rest of your body because it's working through your bloodstream.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to just stop you there and ask you a question about, I've read a lot of stuff with concerns about cats and diffusers, and I know that what I've read indicates is there's only a certain type of plants that you really don't want to have around your pets. But do you mind sharing a little bit about your thought process and animals and diffusers?
So I always, I have a little dog, little Ziggy. He's about a 13 to 15 pound poodle.
Okay.
And one of my biggest recommendations is always do a slight amount of research before you diffuse some of the more astringent type oils. So your tea tree, your eucalyptus, you never want to use tea tree around cats.
Right.
And cats are a little bit more sensitive than dogs just because of the way they metabolize some of the chemicals in the oils. So I always, I think there are a couple of books out there that you could definitely use, but you also really want to be
Google
careful.
it. I mean, I just want them to be cautious and
absolutely,
because like I said, I'm one of those people that will jump in head first into something and then put oregano drops under my tongue and think I'm going to die because it's supposed to boost your immune system. And even putting that in a spoonful of olive oil, and then, I mean, it will literally kill a dish. Maybe you can put it on bread or in a capsule or something, but you don't even want that to hit you anywhere down. And I'm grateful I'm a healthy human being and that the suffering, it did not hurt me by any means. It just definitely, didn't feel good.
Burned.
Oh yeah. And I put like several drops under my tongue because it was a year ago in Savannah and the flu season had hit so bad and they were not, they were completely out of elderberry. And so one of my girlfriends had just mentioned it and I was sitting out in Whole Foods, still half concussed, or I guess it was probably 2 years ago. I've been here almost a year. And I literally just leaned back and dropped into my mouth 7 drops of oregano before it hit. And I was like,
I bet that just burned. Woo.
It was crazy. But I have heard about, the animals. And so I just want to say that we're just giving you a taste because Carly could talk about essential oils for probably a week straight. And we're just giving you just like a little snippets along the way. And time check, I just want to let you know, we probably have about like another 10 minutes or a little less. So, want to kind of help guide this into a place of how people can begin to use essential oils. And I loved the fact that you said that the tea tree oil, the lavender, and the peppermint would, like, if you had to have 3 entry level essential oils, that those would be 3 that you would consider. And I loved that you said that these are 3 that you can't really hurt yourself. So, and that's beautiful to start with something that you can be a little bit more sensitive to the fact that even if you put a drop on your skin, it's not going to burn you or hurt you in any way.
Well, the peppermint, you definitely would want to be a little bit more, it's a little bit more hot oil. So you definitely want to dilute peppermint before you put on, but it's just one that is great for like migraines or mental clarity. That's something that a lot of us are looking for some support with right now, is energy, motivation.
Yes.
And so, I'll kind of lead into some of my recommendations. So I made a list, and this is obviously not a cumulative list by any way, shape, or imagination.
Okay.
But I wanted to list off some oils for, number one, we're talking a lot about lungs and respiratory health right now.
Yes.
And so some of the oils that are good for respiratory health would be eucalyptus, as I mentioned earlier. We think about the lungs.
Yep.
Rosemary, and rosemary is also good for memory and cognition. They've done a couple of research studies with seniors and shown that their reaction time and markers of dementia actually will go down after some time using rosemary. And frankincense is great to diffuse for respiratory health. Peppermint, myrtle oil, which a lot of people haven't heard of myrtle, but it's a really beautiful smell. And inula. So those are some that you could put in a diffuser and I think diffusing is a great way to think about respiratory health, or you could make a roll-on. And a good, a roll-on looks kind of like this, and it's typically diluted. You can order these on Amazon.
I love those.
You can apply them over your lungs. You can apply them to the inside of your wrist. You can put them on different acupuncture points, just depending on what the property that you're looking to create. So that's for respiratory health. And respiratory is going to kind of go along with the whole immune, like we really want to keep our system strong right now so that we just don't take on anything, whether it's physical or picking up negativity from others right now, because we may have significant others or family that is struggling. So keeping our immune system up, a lot of the herbs and the spices are excellent for our immune system because they're going to offer us protection from oxidative stress. So cardamom, grapefruit, which is also very uplifting, and grapefruit is also known for use for, I say weight loss, but what it does is it works within different centers of the brain. When you smell grapefruit, it helps reduce your hunger. So that's a great one, and it smells really good. Spike lavender is really high in linalool or linalool, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Thyme, lemon, and ginger and hyssop are all great oils that are good for boosting your immunity.
Great.
And then along with this whole COVID, all of the stress about being at home, or maybe we've had job changes. I know my life looks very different than it did a month and a half ago. I'm not seeing people at my shop anymore, so I'm converting everything online, kind of like you. So stress levels. Finding ways to keep our stress level low is going to help boost our immune system, because we're not moving into that fight or flight mode all the time. That sympathetic dominance. We want to stay more in the rest and digest, where we can assimilate information, process it, and move forward. So for stress, lavender, as we've talked about, clary sage is really good, and that's also for women. It's a hormone balancer, so it's excellent if you have any mood issues around that time of the month, PMS kind of thing.
And that's what sage?
Clary sage.
Can you spell that for me?
CLARY.
Okay, perfect.
Clary sage.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of different types of sage, like sage dalmatia and white sage, and those are a little bit more harsh. You're going to have to be careful around animals with those, but clary sage is a little bit more safer one to use. So definitely sage can be sensitizing for some people, so just being mindful of that. Tangerine. Most of the citrus oils are considered to be uplifting. And if you think about the beginning of my little chat talking about the morphology, citrus, if you think about fruit, it's at the top of the tree, so it's getting sunlight. It's going to be mood elevating. It's going to be happy and uplifting. So orange, lime, lemon, tangerine, all of those are excellent for mood elevation.
I love it. I love that analogy. I'll use that in a meditation soon.
Yeah. And then one more little snippet. I don't know how much time we have left.
No, you're good.
Okay. I ran across this, and I couldn't believe I ran across it. As I was preparing for this, I have like 7 binders of education and information. I ran across, I love studying the energetics, and there's a great book called, by Valerie, I think it's Worwood or Wormwood, Essential Oils and let's see. Fragrant Mind is the name of it. And it's all kinds of recipes and recommendations for different types of emotional trauma. So we've talked a lot about the physical benefits, but these oils also work on the higher energetic level within the brain and within, imagine that these molecules are vibrating. Well, they are vibrating. You don't have to imagine. They are vibrating, and they're sending signals to different areas of the brain. It truly can help with different emotions and clearing old patterns.
Absolutely. It's all energy. So yes, I concur.
So I ran across a piece of paper that I don't know why I had written down the essential oils for isolation, but for some reason, maybe at the time I felt isolated. I don't know. But this is the coolest thing. So marjoram oil and rosewood and hoe wood is called HO wood. It's a beautiful oil. It's a little bit more astringent than the rosewood, but they both smell similar. Are great for isolation and, let's see, facing change in areas of unknown. So those 3 oils, I know, I was like,
That's
what a cool
awesome.
blend that would be.
Well, how beautiful to incorporate that into, because a lot of people are not used to spending a lot of time in silence within themselves and not being able to be social with their friends, and not just as simple as not being able to hug someone, contaminator. But essential oils can give you that loving, beautiful, inward kind of experience. I use them in my baths frequently. And so that's kind of wanted to wrap this up a little bit and give you guys a little summary of some practical uses with the essential oils. And so just putting a couple drops of lavender in your bath with some Epsom salt or sea salt can be a wonderful way to relax and bring you back to a beautiful spot. And then just to kind of go back over some of the beautiful stuff that Carly has shared with us. I really loved at the very beginning where you mentioned that the extraction of these essential oils comes from the protective section of the plant. And that's really genuinely what we want to be doing for ourselves right now, is using things that are going to put us in that protective space. And so I love that. And I loved at the end that you were talking about the vibrant mind. Obviously having a head injury and knowing that, that there are all these yummy, everything from helping us with isolation with the rosewood and the hoe wood, and then knowing that you can de-stress with clary sage, which was one I've never heard of. So I can't wait to research and get me some of that, to add that to my collection of 100 different essential oils like I need anymore. And then I loved your story about the tangerines and how the outer part of the tree is where you get your energy from. I'm constantly connecting with the Father, Son, and bringing that energy, that daily energy that gives us that renewal. And how beautiful to think of your skin as an orange, basking in the sunlight and having that fragrance just to boost your energy through the mid part of the day. Around like 3 or 4 o'clock is when I love to use orange as my essential oil in my diffuser. So I mean, there's just so many great things that you've shared with us. Thank you so much, Carly. And I would love for people to be able to have an opportunity to actually work with you. And I remember you mentioning earlier that you've got a special that you're running right now to do a custom blend, and that we can go to your Hi-FrequencyHealing page, which we're going to put this at the bottom of the comments. So for anyone who's wanting to reach Carly, I think I've tagged her in this as well, or you can reach out to me and I can defer you to Carly. But we'll make sure that you guys get in contact. But what is this about?
Yeah, so I'm doing for $25. I'm doing, usually my aromatherapy consultations are $45, but right now I'm doing virtual consultations with people. We'll chat for say 10 to 20 minutes. I can see what you have going on in your life, whether you want to work on something physically or emotionally, and then I'll create a custom roll-on blend for you to apply topically. And it'll be safely diluted, of course, but it'll be made just for you and it'll be just your formulation. And so you get the roll-on and the consultation for just $25.
And guys, this is one of the reasons why I'm bringing essential oils to us right now, is because they're not expensive. It's only a $10 to like a $25 investment, and it can completely shift your mood if you're a sensory oriented person. I mean, it's not for everyone, but for those of us that love to get pedicures and manicures and spa stuff, we're not spending our money doing those things right now with this social distancing. So I don't know about you, but for me, I'm using a lot more essential oils right now because I'm not getting those massages. I'm not having that human touch. And not that it's a complete replacement, but it definitely helps me boost my mood, or it can also help me relax at the end of the day. So the lavender is great for helping me wind down and get a little sleepy and turn the mind off and allow myself to begin to go into a restful state. So thank you so much, Carly. I really appreciate you coming and sharing your time. We'll definitely have to do this again really soon, because we didn't even get I feel like we just got like a little speck of all the wonderful stuff that you have to share. So we'll do this again.
Yes. Awesome.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Until next time. Peace out.
Bye.
Bye.